Hello and welcome to this video on Snowflake introduction. So using Snowflake as our data warehouse for data analytics to gain valuable insights. Let's start with the physical service on premises. So there's a need of scalability. When the workload is increasing, we need to buy more hardware. And it's not flexible and hard to manage. So there will need people that understands how to set up more hardware. And there will probably be a lot of discussions between different teams in order to scale up, and scale out. There's also large upfront costs. So this is called CapEx. So capital expenditure. So you have to buy the physical server in order to manage the increasing workload. So you have to account for it beforehand. So Snowflake solves this with a three-tier architecture. It solves the scalability problem. So in Snowflake, there's cloud services, there's compute layer, and there's a storage layer. So in cloud services, there's authentication and access control. There's infrastructure, optimizer, metadata handling, and security. So if you're familiar with cloud computing, these are the things that usually are handled by the cloud vendor. And actually Snowflake lies on top of it has the cloud services in the background. So it has, it's based on either AWS, Google Cloud Platform, or AWS. So moving on to the compute, here we have virtual warehouses. So you could have several virtual warehouses. So here's 4, for example, here's 1. And here's 2, which will manage the compute for us. So it's separated from the storage. So we will see more about virtual warehouses later and scaling up and scaling out. And there's storage. So this runs on top of cloud platforms, as I said, Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud Platform. So how about the pricing? So we have the storage cost. And in the storage, we have capacity storage and we have on-demand storage. So you can choose to, if you choose the capacity storage, then you have an upfront cost for a certain amount of storage. And on-demand storage it depends on how much storage you have, and it costs accordingly. And the storage is paid per month, so we have storage fee per month. There's also storage cost in time travel and fail-safe. So in Snowflake, they have time travel and fail-safe in order to get back data in case you lose it. For example, doing a query that has deleted the data which you didn't want it to. You can travel back. And there's compute cost. So 1 credit per compute node. And this is based on the credits consumption, so how much credits you spend. This will translate to actual currency depending on your Snowflake edition and how many nodes you have. So the warehouse that is active, it's billed per second, and the minimum is 1 minute. So we have the cloud services, and here we have compute and storage, data transfer cost, and we have indirect cost related to cloud providers. And for the billing, we have credits they are transformed to currency, as I said. And this is based on the Snowflake edition. And it's based on the cloud provider and the region that you have chosen. So when you set up your Snowflake account, you choose the cloud provider and the region. And based on this, it will be a cost per credit. And you pay this each month. So here's in Snowflake, there's a user interface, a graphical user interface called Snowsite. And here's an example of that. You can see different worksheets. So here you create different SQL worksheets to work with. Here you have projects, worksheets that we will work with mostly. We will work with the data also in the data tab where you have your databases. And also data products is we will also touch on that, where you can go into the marketplace to get other people's data which they have shared. And this you can use to enrich your data sets. And there's monitoring and admin that we will check on also in this course. So in Snowflake, there's a hierarchy of secureable objects. So it starts with the organization. And in an organization, there's one or multiple accounts. And in an account, there are warehouse, database, role, user, and other account objects. And within a database, there's database role and schemas. And down in the schemas, we have table, view, stage, stored procedure, UDFs, and other schema objects. And we'll move on to these things here. So we have warehouse, database, schema, and tables. So for the warehouse part, we have virtual warehouse, and this is a scaling up. So we see that the warehouse size increases. It increases with the t-shirt size. So you have XS, which is extra small. And here we have one compute node. And as we said in the pricing part, that one compute node corresponds to 1 credit per hour. And this is billed per minute, remember that. Or it's billed per second, but 1 minute is the minimum. And then moving on to when we're scaling upwards, we get to the next warehouse, which is small. And this is the double of the extra small. So here we have 2 compute nodes. And the next step, 4, we have the double of the small. And the next is 8. So we have large. So this is scaling up, and you will need the scaling up when you're handling large but few workloads. For example, you have one workload, you have one query that is querying a lot of data and maybe doing a lot of advanced complex query. Which which will take a lot of time. Then it's better to scale up. And to scale up, you pick a warehouse of a larger t-shirt size. And in contrast to scaling up, we have scaling out. And scaling out, then we have several clusters. So here is the first. If you have one cluster, you get like here these squares and rectangles. They represent the size of of your data warehouse. So you have one cluster which is for extra small, you have one node, and for small you have two nodes. And when you have, then you can scale out so that you have two clusters. And for two clusters, we have two virtual warehouses running in parallel. So note that, for example, here, for this case here, we have 4 nodes running in parallel. So 4 nodes and 4 nodes, etc. So we continue here, 3 clusters, then we have 3 in parallel. So this is good for handling many workloads in parallel. So configure to scale out automatically when needed based on a scaling policy which you can set. So there's 2 different policies that you can set. And this is also called horizontal scaling. So for moving on to database and schemas object, we have an account which can have several databases, and note that an organization can have several accounts. And so we have several databases, and in a database we have information schema and we have other schemas. By default we have the public schema, but you could create other schemas as well. And inside of the database we have several schemas, and the schemas, they are used to organize the database objects such as tables and views. So when we go on to tables, so we looked into the organization of how the hierarchy of database schemas, and in schemas we have tables, views, etc. So inside the table, there are actually different types of tables in Snowflake. We have the temporary table, which is automatically dropped after a session. We have a transient table, which is a table where there's no time travel, no failsafe, and this is short-term storage time. You can see the x-axis here is for storage time. And then we have the permanent table, which has time travel and failsafe, and this is for long-term storage. And there's also external tables where you can query data in Azure Blob, in Google Cloud Service and Amazon S3, and you don't need to load it into Snowflake. Yes, thank you for this video, and see you in the next video. Bye.